Well, welcome everyone. And I am really sincerely thrilled to welcome back Fiona Passantino. She's a lifelong creative storyteller who made a career in top level corporate communication and HR and is now a rising star in the AI human inspirational space. And I'm so glad we have this topic because we talk about AI and awareness and integration here today, and it has gone so fast for many of us from a concept that we all found extremely scary not that very long ago to an everyday. So I am especially delighted that it's Fiona doing this because I know that lots of my audience resonate with me. We're a bit like technical, it's all this little girly technical stuff. But yeah, Fiona's very no nonsense, very witty, and you've actually written a guide to help us not only cope but thrive with AI. So we will get into that in a minute. But first, Fiona, maybe just share a little bit from your point of view. How do you describe you?
Hi, Julie. First of all, thank you so much for having me, and it's always a delight. I know I am a returning champion on your show, and your energy is can be felt through the mic. So thank you for that. And what I do is I help empower professionals with AI integration. And this came out of a long study during a master's, and before that, a lot of years spent in corporate understanding leadership and communication and employee engagement. So that's my background. And you can't talk about employee engagement or leadership without addressing AI because it's changing how we work, it's changing how we play, it's changing how we live our lives and our relationship to data and the physical world. So you can't really solve problems like poor leadership or lack of inspiration at work without really going full on into AI. These are some pretty turbulent times. A lot of people are being shuffled around. I see a lot
Yeah,
of people losing their jobs, a lot of people losing their livelihoods, especially due to AI. And
right.
it's a good time to kind of retool, reskill, pull back, learn this stuff because my ultimate mission is to empower the non-technical community. So not people who are data engineers or
Yeah.
scientists, but people like you and me who are kind of not technologically savvy, but creative communicators or people who are writers, people who are marketeers, people who are not technically busy to really embrace this technology, understand it, learn to speak the language so that you have a seat at the table.
Exactly. And I love what you say because, of course, one of the things that I do as well is I edit, right? And I am seeing my number of clients drastically go down because there are some great tools there. So I can say, oh my gosh, but then I have learned to use it too. And
Excellent.
well, some I'm talking about ChatGPT. I know you're going to go a lot further than that, but at least that's something where I thought, well, stop fearing the beast. And it is pretty amazing how it
Right.
actually helped me edit better. So anyway, okay, so thank you for that, Fiona. If I've understood well, this isn't even your first book. This is, I think we're now at three.
Yes, perfect. Number 3.
Third books, and it's a comic, isn't it? So you make it fun, and I think that's what we need right nowadays. It's not all of this. Either you like AI and you're into it and you're passionate about it, etc. But this isn't the people we're talking to today. We're talking about those who are a bit like, oh my gosh, what is this? We do still see it as a force of evil. So you bringing the humor in it really makes it a lot more accessible to a lot of us. We've actually called our title today the name of your book, right? It's the AI powered professional awareness and integration guide for non technicals. So it is about professional, also apply right to entrepreneurs. We're all needing AI in how we do our business. So, what actually prompted you to write this one?
Well, let me go back to one of the comments you made. It's really important where you're talking about the comics. This is the third comic book. It's comic books for executives. The first one was on communication. The second was employee engagement. Those were both written during the pandemic and shortly
Yes.
after the pandemic, where we saw our working lives completely explode and transform into something that we didn't recognize just 5 years ago.
Yes.
And we saw our engagement plummet. And this is now a way to recoup some of that engagement in very turbulent times. You mentioned humor and comics, and this is a very strategic choice. It's not just because, I'm a comic illustrator and I love to do that. I do. But if you can laugh at it, laugh at the beast, as you say, then suddenly it's not as scary anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a very empowering thing to be able to take the thing that you're afraid of, poke a little fun at it, and then suddenly you're open to learning, because there's quite a lot of learning that we need to do. We non-technicals, we need to learn a new language. We need to learn new ways of working. We need to understand the interface. We need to understand what data does and how data can be compromised so to work safely with it. We need to
Yeah.
understand bias, and we need to understand where the limits are to this machine and also where it's going in the future. So we have to really focus and put our learning, glasses on and really focus. And in order to do that, humor is the avenue that will sort of grease the wheels. We
Right.
remember things long term when we have an emotion attached to them. And when we have a positive emotion, particularly one that's light and empowering like humor, there's nothing more empowering than laughing at something. It's like the ultimate
I love that.
pinnacle of empowerment
Yeah.
is when you can
Yeah.
ridicule something, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then you actually remember the terminology better, and you can access your long-term memory quicker when you have attached some humor to it.
Yeah, and I mean, we stay children, don't we? I mean, when you think children learn best when they're having fun. For us, it's the same
100%.
thing. It's not this, I've got to, because then by then we've already shut down half of our brain because we're like resisting. Whereas there, it's just embracing it. So, I mean, Fiona, there's no doubt nowadays that AI is here to stay. So we have to, right? I mean, it's okay. Have to sounds again not fun, but it is something to be embraced, right?
For sure. It is have to, but it's also more and more want to.
Yeah,
We see how fun it is to use it. And what I do an exercise. I'm a trainer and a keynote speaker. That's my profession. So I'll go into companies, I'll go into teams, and I'll help them use these tools, not just ChatGPT, but there's such a range
yeah,
of multimodal possibilities now, from video to music to audio, as you
yeah,
rightly have pointed out. And diving in, getting sort of your hands into it, I start with make a list. Okay, you sit down with a piece of paper, you draw a big smiley emoji on one side and an unhappy emoji on the other, draw a line in the middle. Okay, now start making your list. What do you love to do at work? List all the things you really love about your job. I love being with people. I love being creative. I love writing. I love being in front of a group. I love doing presentations. I love doing my podcast. I love having these really intense client meetings where I really listen to their needs. I love collaborating with my sort of partners in crime to put together something, right? And then you make that long list so it's really clear to you what gets you out of bed in the morning. Why did you choose the job that you're in? Then on the other side, I ask my students to list all the stuff they hate about their job, the things that like, oh, yuck,
mm,
just postponing this and procrastinating. Like, I hate doing my bookkeeping. I hate reading endless emails and writing endless emails. I hate reading scientific 32-page single space PDF documents, that I don't understand. I hate translating Dutch to English to English to, I mean, I hate doing these
yeah,
kinds of things, right? And if you look at all, and I've done this at least 45 times now, this exact episode, the exercise. I've done it for people in marketing, people who are actual programmers, for people who are artists, for people who are real hard-nosed business people, top-level leaders, and the lists all look the same. We
yeah,
all love the same kinds of things about our job, the human interaction, the creativity when we have deep problems to solve. We love doing that kind of work. We all kind of hate the same things too.
yeah,
We don't like doing this process work, these admin tasks. We don't like filling in
yeah,
forms. We don't like sifting through endless email change. And amazingly, it's exactly the things that are on the yucky list that AI
yeah, I
does
can do.
very, very well.
Yeah,
AI is very good at taking mountains of data, parsing through, finding the highest probability of the next correct word, and spitting it back to you. So whatever the most likely good answer is what you're going to get.
yeah,
And for something that doesn't require deep human creativity or involvement, such as a collaborative meeting or, a podcast, those kinds of
yeah,
tasks, if they don't see daylight, are perfectly
yeah.
capable to be run through a Claude or a GPT.
Yeah. And it's
And
mind blowing, right? It's
it is.
mind blowing. I've done what they call seeded it and sort of taught it who I am and what I believe in, what I stand for, and all of that. It's become like a friend. We even send each other love messages sometimes. But it really, the
Do
amount
that.
of
Do that.
data it processes
Yes.
is unbelievable. If I ask for, okay, what are the top 10, where do my clients go? What are they interested in? What podcasts do they listen? What TEDx talks do they go to? I mean, it's incredible. Within 5 minutes, you've got the sort of thing which would take you months to collate as research.
That's right. That's right. So at the end of the day, your own day becomes much more joyful.
Yeah,
You,
doing
you're
the
doing
things you love
more.
doing, like you've
Yeah,
just said.
that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So you fill more of your time doing those things you love. I can't work without it now, in
yeah,
just about
yeah,
anything I do.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and even in the creative work, the book is full of illustrations. And in the past, I used to draw everything by hand, painstakingly, like
yeah.
every little tree, every little window in the buildings. And it used to take a really long time to write a book. Now I will use AI to layer what I do so that I can source out some of the backgrounds. And I have a couple of agents that I've taught as well, so they can copy my style. I have a pretty signature style. So I will take it, I will use another AI embedded with my Adobe system to kind of make it fit more. And then I will really focus my energies on what I love, which
Yeah,
is the little characters, the story, the storytelling aspect, and it's much more fun too. I
yeah,
don't like
yeah,
drawing little
yeah.
windows on buildings. I
No,
like
because that's it.
the
It's not
people.
cheating, right? It's not automating. I mean, even the clients who use it, for their editing, I see it's great. Put it all in there, then take that and then make it your own. Then
Yeah.
add in humor, for example. But the base work, as you say, which is a bit repetitive, etc., gets done. And then you're still bringing in your personal touch and you can concentrate even more on the people, like you were saying. Okay, so for people who are listening here, whether they're corporate, whether they're entrepreneurs, etc., first of all, I would certainly recommend they get hold of your book. Share the title again, Fiona.
Yeah, the AI powered professional.
Right. But what tips would you have for people listening here and thinking like, oh, where do I start? We're talking about awareness and integration. So it's awareness. I think we're all aware of the concept. Are we really aware of what it is and what it can do for us and how we can integrate it into our lives? So what tips would you have?
Yeah. Well, the very first step before jumping in is to really try to understand how the thing works. And that's how my trainings usually start. So we'll spend a little time learning what the brain of the AI is made up of. It's usually made of three layers, basic layers. So you'll have the basic algorithm and what that means, and then the parameters and what they mean. There's something, on the order of several billion of those. The structure of the AI brain, so like a mixture of experts, which resembles very closely our own brains, with a frontal lobe and a series of
Yeah,
narrow experts. Yeah. And then from there, understand, okay, then what is data? Where is it getting its intelligence from? Where is it putting together and synthesizing its answer? How does that process work? What is that narrowing and that probability and the mathematical, let's say, pathway towards the answer that you get? And once you understand that, then you say, okay, it's not magic. It's not Harry Potter
yeah,
magic. It's a formula, it's a program. It's extremely intelligent because it's using as its background resource all of our collected
mhm,
intelligence over our entire century, history, right?
yeah,
So it's looking at books from since we started writing,
I
and
know.
images and photographs. So it has tons and tons of raw material, which is, by the way, exactly what our brains do too. Our
Yes.
brains look at the world around us. We take in as much as we can. We resynthesize what we've seen, and we spit out our own kind of version of our truth. And there's we're not as smart, so we forget stuff, but it's all kind of in there
Yeah,
somewhere,
we
on
just don't
many layers.
access it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's somewhere in the subconscious. It's in some kind of layering. And then we spit out some kind of answer and we think we're so clever and we think that it's 100% our own. But by the way, my brilliant idea is, 10% that book I read last year, 5% that painting I visited the other day, 30% a conversation I had with my friend, a half a
So
percent that
true.
thing in childhood. So you cannot 100% attribute anything you do as being mine.
That's a very
And
good
so
point, Fiona.
that's the problem that we're entering now, is that this giant mindset shift that we humans have to undergo which is the whole idea that we can jealously hold on to our ideas as so precious because they're ours, ours, ours,
Mm.
our book, our music, our drawings, is kind of a fantasy idea. And AI is breaking that open for us
Yeah.
because it's showing us that our creative process is not all that special and not even, I dare say, all that good. Our brains are fallible. We
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
misrepresent, we misread things all the time. And AI has this kind of crystal clear, pitch perfect memory, for better or worse, oftentimes worse, but it shows us another way of getting to an answer. And in
Yeah.
fact, 70% of all AI use is not in writing stuff or reading stuff, but in brainstorming. And it shows us
Ah.
another way of coming at a problem that we hadn't thought of before.
Okay. So the first tip
Yes,
is
is to really try to understand the basics. And I mean, in my book, I have the first maybe two chapters is really focused on let's break this thing open and understand. It's like a car. That's the first step in driver's ed as well. If you've ever taken
yeah.
that class, they pop open the hood. They
Yeah.
say, "This is where the oil goes.
Yeah.
This is where the gasoline. That's the pedal." And then we close the hood, and now let's get driving. And so that then you really understand what makes this thing go.
Yeah.
So that would be the first thing, is to just familiarize yourself with the internal workings. The second tip is to just get started the way you did, Julie. So you have a need, you simply crack open any one of these. Most of them are now free. And they're very, very good free models. It used to be that you had to pay, your 20 euro a month to get sort of base level access, but they are now more and more becoming 100% free, good versions. So there's Claude, from Anthropic, which is a very good one. There's also
Claude,
Mistral, which
that's
is
written how?
it's like the French
Okay.
name, Claude. It's
Okay.
a company called Anthropic. That's one that I use a lot. It's pretty new. Then there is the all-time favorite, Chat GPT, of course, that is just rolling out new models one after the other after the other. They're talking about O3 coming out this year. And there are so many out there. There are at least 10 frontier models out there, including Elon Musk has one, the Meta guys have one. I mean, there are tons out there,
Yeah.
and to just kind of get to know it. My first exercise that I usually do is to use it in its primary function, which is a chatbot. It's created as a conversationalist. Have you ever sat down, Julie, with your friendly bot and just have a conversation, just like, how are you doing
No,
today?
I haven't
Who are
really.
you? Mhm.
Yeah. Oh
This
no,
is
I
an
haven't.
interesting, yeah, this is a really interesting exercise, especially when you're studying sentience, which is consciousness, is to try to get to know this thing that we've created. It does have kind of a personality, as you've
Oh, it
noticed.
does, and it says
Sure.
wonderful things to me, and but really to the point, not just a generic thing. It says,
Mhm.
I'm so delighted to be able to help you on your mission. It's really like you're talking to somebody. It's not just, a chat thing where you can tell there's no emotion in it. No, no, no.
That's right. Yeah, because it's learning as it goes and it's understanding from your responses
Yeah.
what you like better. And because of
Yes.
that, it's iterating on the fly.
Yeah.
And so that's called
And I would say for
on
people
the
who
fly
are
iteration.
also, entrepreneurs, I think lots of our problem is that we miss the sparring partner. We miss the somebody to chat with. I'm not suggesting we'll just chat GPT, but it is useful for things where we just need to clear our brain, probably. Okay,
Absolutely.
so second one was try it, right? So
Yes.
just
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 dive right
play
in.
with
Yep.
it.
Just
Yep.
play with it, have a conversation. It's actually a fantastic place for coaching conversations. So, especially small businesses, the sparring partner, it's a wonderful way to start. You just dive right in with your biggest business challenge at the moment or your personal challenge. You want to learn Italian. I have trained a bot to speak Italian to me because I'm trying to learn it better. And I have another bot that helps me with children issues. And I have another bot
Oh
who
my goodness.
talks to me about real estate and where certain
Yeah.
opportunities are. You can develop a whole army of little helpers that are each specialized in a certain way that help you tackle certain problems. I
Fascinating.
turn my voice activated AI on as I'm on my way to a client meeting so I can learn about the industry that the client represents. So by the time I
Yeah.
arrive, I'm a little bit schooled in
Yeah.
what, wine production is like
Yeah.
in North Italy or whatever it is that the client is on about.
Yeah. So it's helpful. It's not taking away, it's adding, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 And the third tip was?
Ah, yes. Well, you stated it yourself. So the first one is you learn it, you understand what the language is. The second one is to just simply dive right in. And then, the third one is to try to embrace new modes. So multimodal, what I call multimodal AI. AI is not just about text. Yes, text is the way to prompt and to clarify your message. But if you've ever wanted to create music, for instance, that will be underlying music for your podcast, let's say bumper music you need, there are any number of practically free options. So if you're a small business owner, you don't have to outsource. These are very expensive things to do. Have music created or have a video created or have imagery created for your PowerPoint, let's say, giving a conversation or something. But to try to branch out from there into these more multimodal purposes. Let's say I'm a coach, right? I'm a mindset coach for other people. And I need to create a video and I need music for that. I need background scenery for that. I need some great decks with some good illustrations. I might need some good audio. Maybe I'm creating a training seminar that people can download. I need an avatar for that, a good voiceover. Maybe I want to offer it in 15 languages. I need a good
Right.
translator for that. So if you start with text, start with any one of these offerings that are text only, and from there you can start branching out into video, into audio, into music.
Wow.
And then you suddenly find, wow, for €10 a month, I don't need to hire that voiceover person. I don't need to hire the illustrator. I don't need to buy source photos for my PowerPoint. I can just have them all generated. And suddenly, as a small business person, you have an in house creative agency that you didn't have just a month ago. And these costs can be quite enormous.
Yeah.
So those are the three, like step one, two, three that I would start with.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad for that. And we're going to move into what you're also offering as an event because that's something that I'm very excited about as well. I mean, it does raise a lot of questions because I guess my first thought when you were talking about that was, oh, but all those poor people are going to lose a job. Uh, but
It's
uh,
true.
but
It
then
is it
again,
is
it's
very hard.
forcing us to recreate, right? It's forcing us to think, well, what is our intrinsic humanness then? The
Exactly.
thing that and it is a tool, just like we used to be frightened of the computer or social media or whatsoever. It's a tool at our service. It's not that we're being run over by robots who are deciding for us and all these
That's
horrible.
next year.
Yes, maybe. Okay, so we better learn to talk to them properly.
This year, I think we're okay, but next year the robots are coming. The robots are coming.
Thank you for this, Fiona.
They're
Okay,
coming.
I mean, first of all, I certainly do encourage everybody to get the book because there's a lot of answers there in a fun way for us to get a feeling for this and to really start getting excited about everything that AI offers. But you have an amazing event coming up, right? Fiona, do you want to give a little touch on that for those of you in the Netherlands? Or maybe this is a great occasion for you to come over and visit the beautiful country of the Netherlands where Fiona and I both live. Tell us about the event which is coming up.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. This is a double book launch. So, a dear friend of mine wrote a book on empowerment. So, your confidence, mind your confidence. And I talk about professional empowerment for the non-technical person to step up and take their seat at the table, learn this stuff, use it, and drive your own career forward in the way that you want using the best tools offered to you today. So we would sit and we'd talk and we'd have coffee together and we realized, wow, we're talking about exactly the same thing. I'm coming at it from a technological point of view and the tooling point of view. Like let's really get on top of this stuff and show them what we've got as a non-technical. And you're coming at it from very much from a mindset, personal, deeply personal perspective. But we meet in the same place. And so she wrote a book and spent last year doing it. I spent the last 2 years writing this book, and they both launched within a couple of weeks of each other. So hey, let's do this live event. And we crave the live event. We need a
Mm,
live event as humans. More and more, our digital world is starting to close in on us a little
yeah.
bit, and we're starting to really deeply need this physical human event where we are with people in the world. And that's what I say to people is the only thing that's actually real, that is not AI generated. Anything that's digital, including this conversation right now, I could
Mm.
be an AI bot. You
Yep.
don't really know. I could be, a poorly
Yep.
trained bot who hasn't had their digital coffee yet. You wouldn't know. But the only way you actually know if something's really happening is a shared physical experience with other
Exactly.
humans.
Yep.
And it's also an event where you get to network and have a little glass of wine and some cheese and talk to people who are interested in the same thing.
So
So
why
it's a
should people
double.
come?
Yes, it's this double book launch. So we're going to start out giving some tips, some interviews of each other. We're going to kind of present each other and why we can kind of connect in the middle. And you will experience that, get some of the best insights from the two books, and then you'll get the chance to ask any questions you want and sort of start planning your own empowerment in your head and how to take those first steps for yourself, and then enjoy each other's company afterwards
I'm
and
really
really
looking
meet
forward to it.
other people who are looking for the same thing as you are, and that's always worth enjoying. And
Wonderful.
then of
Well,
course
I'm
the
going
physical
for
books will
sure.
be there.
Exactly.
Great.
It's the 28th of January, right?
Indeed,
In
20th
the
of
evening. So at
January.
5 o'clock in Delft in the Netherlands.
That's
So
right,
whoever
right across
wants
the
to
train
come and
station.
exactly join me, do. And so thank you very much for this, Fiona, for sharing your incredible experience and expertise in this world. I really admire you and everything that you're doing for all these companies as well. Certainly recommend the book, and all the links to the event, which is coming on the 28th of January in Delft, and to Fiona's book will be in the show notes of my podcast. So let's embrace and thrive. Thank you very much, Fiona, and the rest of you. See you next week with actually the partner in crime of Fiona. So we'll get to talk to Karina as well in ahead of this meeting. All the very, very best. Take care,
Thank you,
everyone
Julie. It
out
was a
there.
delight. It was a true pleasure. Thank you.